we're in the moment. So if you have clicked on the video, maybe you are struggling with feeling crazy on retention, right? Like you can't sleep, maybe you can't eat, maybe your mind's just like moving all around in different areas and kind of flowing in the different areas, and you have a kind of a spastic mind, or you're in a spastic state of mind. Maybe you feel very like unstable, and kind of maybe restless. Maybe you just can't sleep, right? These are all sort of symptoms that you can kind of experience when you're retaining for a long enough time, right? There's no kind of golden number or magic number to when you'll experience these sort of negative side effects. Everybody has an individualistic or a kind of their own individual subjective experience when it comes to retention as well. So oops, I shook my camera a little bit. So yeah, it might make you feel crazy. It might make you think certain things that are crazy. Maybe you'll have crazy ideas. Maybe you'll have crazy fantasies, right? From just because you're retaining for so long. Right? But what happens is, like I said, you have the sexual core, your sexual tank, and it's building up with sexual energy because you're containing it, right? You're containing it, you're boxing it in from all sides. When you're not watching porn, you're not, masturbating, you're not looking at women, so you're containing this this energy. You're containing it. So while you're containing it in the tank, it's it's going to perpetually build up, and it's going to rise and rise and rise. And the higher that it rises, the more you might feel kind of unstable. You might feel kind of restless. You might feel kind of crazy. You might have crazy thoughts and fantasies and maybe ideas that stem from this practice. Itself. And this is what we all have to go through, and we all have to kind of suffer because it's like people want things to be so easy. People want things to be so bliss, right? That's what the mind kind of chases. The mind chases bliss. The mind chases peace. Everybody wants things to be so easy. How can I get a six-pack fast, right? Like, how can I get a six-pack easy? How can I make $100,000 fast or easy, right? Like, every process takes its time, and it takes its toll on you, and there's maybe a little bit of sacrifice that will be involved. So with retention, it's no different, right? It's a practice that requires patience. It's a practice that requires dedication and time and focus, right? There's no like overnight success. There's no putting in a minimal amount of effort and then receiving all of these amazing benefits. Like, you're gonna have to suffer it, just like anybody else, just like me. I suffered it, for a very long time, dealing with not being able to sleep, not being able to really eat. My mind's just kind of bouncing into different areas. I'm creating all these crazy ideas and sort of maybe fantasies, and I had to suffer it for a while. There were days where I can't even sleep because this energy was insane. Like, I became like this absolute powerhouse of energy where I feel like I'm bouncing off walls. I work like a 10-hour shift, and I get off that shift and I feel like I can do another 2 10-hour shifts. I feel numb, I feel so just wired and just electrified from the semen retention, the practice of semen retention. So, we're gonna have to suffer it. There'll be days, there'll be rainy days, like I said. before, there's going to be rainy days, there's going to be cloudy days in general. But when it comes to retention, you know, we're going to have to suffer it. There's going to be times where it's not going to be fun. We might be up for a couple days. We might, but it's going to get better before, just like how the weather changes from sunny to rainy. And so, like, yeah, the tank itself is just going to keep going up, right? The sexual tank, right? It's just going to keep going up. And then as you're containing it with, healthy lifestyle habits, or conducive sort of habits that can, that also benefit from the semen retention practice, and they kind of maybe get intertwined, and they exchange their they benefit each other, like having a good diet and not consuming many stimulating things, and being around maybe just good low stimulating environments and whatnot, and just not looking anywhere lustfully, right? Or not, so and so on. So as you're doing this, the tank is just going to keep rising and just keep flowing, and then you're like trying to trap it in, right? Trap in that energy, box it in. So it's like it's flowing within you. Think of it as this energy is flowing within you, and it's trying to navigate its way outside of you, right? But you create the opening for that, whether that's looking on the internet while you're scrolling, you look at a cute anime girl, or just like some cute imagery of some sort, right? You then create that opening for that energy to navigate its way through you and out of you, right? So whether that's looking at like something like on the internet, or when you're in public, you see a cute girl or an attractive person, right? And then you think lustful from that. You think about, like having intercourse with that person, or just in general when you're on your own and you're fantasizing about some scenery or some imagery that's like sexual or explicit. You're creating an opening for this energy to kind of navigate and channel out of you, to navigate outside of you, and to exit through you, right? So it starts as a thought, right? And it goes down, right? It goes down through the spine, right? And then it stimulates your sexual core, your sexual center, right? It's like, it's kind of, for me, I feel it in my gut, I feel it in my stomach. So it goes down, right? And then the dead energy exits, whether that's a wet dream, a nocturnal emission, or you masturbate, and then it releases that way, and then the dead energy exits through the physical, which is just the semen or the seed. But before, it kind of burns through, the energy kind of, it releases before it releases as physical, kind of just like semen or fluid or bodily fluids, right? Like it can even come out when you're, using the restroom, and you're like on the toilet and you're pushing. That's happened to me. Right, like, and you're pushing really hard, and you can lose some fluids, or if maybe you're in public and you get really excited when you're interacting back and forth with a woman, right? Maybe a little bit comes out down there, because you can become very, very sensitive when you're on retention for a very long time. This is kind of what happened in my experience, right? Like you feel like, you have big ball, like just, like your balls are filled, your tank is super full. And then like any little notion, any little kind of excitement can kind of create a instant release, or a little bit of a release can come out down there. So that's normal, that's natural. It's a part of the practice, it's a part of the process. So yeah, the energy is going to try and flow its way out of you. You create the opening, you lower your guard, right? Via looking at a woman lustfully or thinking about a sexual kind of fantasy. You lower your guard, you create an opening for that energy within you, the sexual energy, to kind of shoot its way out of you, to kind of navigate its way out of you, right? And kind of channel its way out of you, right? And then it'll do that, and then it'll go, it'll start as a thought, go down, and exit. It's a very interesting process. So, like, it just goes all throughout the kind of the net of your being. It just goes from one side to the other, from the top to bottom, as far as the sexual energy, to how it transfers from one side to the other. Like the top, the mind, as a thought, it exits through via semen, ejaculation, nocturnal emissions, wet dreams, or even just like masturbation, or maybe even sex, and so on, or any other. I mean, there's many other methods and kind of ways of release, even ones that are more subtle, like when you're using the restroom, or when you get excited when dealing with a woman or a person you're attracted to. And a little bit can release, a little bit can come out. So, what else? Oh yes, so there's more subtle ways, right, on how the energy is going to try and escape and exit through you, exit through your vessel, right? Like you maybe you could find yourself on a subconscious level, kind of like touching surfaces, touching objects with like your kind of private area without realizing it. And you do this on a subconscious level to stimulate your sexual core and your sexual center, right? And you kind of want to you start like trying to slowly work yourself down there so that the energy can release itself. And you do it on a subconscious level because of how heavy that this sexual instinct is kind of wired into us by nature, by default, right? But our duty is to kind of recognize our sort of imperfections and our areas that need to get worked out, and things that we can do as far as transcending them. Like, we have to work on these things to transcend them, lust, sex. We recognize that this is a part of our nature, this is what we do, and then we work on transcending them, even if it takes a lifetime or multiple lifetimes to work on, or like a million lifetimes to kind of cycle through and kind of work on, right? So you'll be like doing things on a subtle level to stimulate your sexual center or your sexual core. Like, you'll bend over and you'll kind of touch down there, your private part, to kind of get the cycle working and flowing, so that that energy can kind of slowly seep its way, the sexual energy can slowly seep its way out of you via, like touching yourself and like masturbating and so on. Like, you're gonna have like maybe the urge to like want to touch yourself down there, even if it doesn't mean like play with yourself or like play with your private part. You'll like do it because you kind of have like the urge, like the instinctual kind of urge to want to do it, because that's kind of what like the energy is kind of trying to flow. It's flowing, and it's trying to like kind of exit its way out of your body through your vessel, right? Because it's like it's in your vessel and you're playing the shell, right? This human robot, this glob of meat, um, and you're like doing things without realizing it subconsciously, right? Like touching yourself down there, bending over on counters or like by tabletops to kind of start stimulating that um, sexual kind of area and center, right? You'll get the cycle kind of going so that the energy can kind of just shoot its way through you and work its way out, right? But because like the sexual instinct is so heavy, it's so like intense, we're so heavily wired by it because we are designed by nature to spread our DNA and to spread our seed and to kind of cycle ourselves out genetically for as long as we can, and that's what we do with these sexual instincts. So, we're here to recognize our nature, our human nature, our limitations, our flaws. We do them, we suffer them so that we can transcend them, right? But we also work on, we do training here in this body. We do training in this body, we experience through this body to then work on it for lifetimes, for life cycles, for eons, however long we're supposed to do it, to work on transcending these things so that we can be free from them. We don't have to experience them anymore. We don't have to worry about them anymore. So yeah, I think I covered everything that I needed to cover. If you're suffering, suffer it. I had to suffer it.